time to play ball. Welcome to the podcast with no limits. Whether it be sports, current events, or random thoughts, this is the place to step in and stay a while. Your host is a proud alumnus of Rio Hondo Prep, a former minor league baseball umpire, and a man with strong opinions. Welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast and your host, Matt Hersema.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Get Home Safe. Merry Christmas to everybody out there and happy Friday. These Friday conversations have been a lot of fun, kind of kicking us off into the weekend, or I should say getting us around third and home safe for the weekend, right? So another Friday edition of the pod. So we have a wonderful guest today. We are going to be joined by Mr. Cole Barrett, a proud alum of Rio Hondo Prep and a proud father of 5. He's a trucker, a long haul, drives big truck, big rigs and everything. Life on the road really for Cole. But a big thing we're going to talk about with Cole today is about his beloved Atlanta Braves, the World Series champion Atlanta Braves, I should say, and his Michigan Wolverines. I know those two regions. It's like, what's connected there? But we'll find out. We'll find out how exactly Cole became a fan of both, and how excited he is about his Big Ten champion Michigan Wolverines headed into the college football playoff to face the Georgia Bulldogs here in the next few weeks. So a lot to talk about with Cole Barrett. His wife, Julene, was on the program a few months back, probably. That was a lot of fun catching up with her, talking about her dad, her grandfather, or her uncle, I should say, and the two wonderful men, the Ostergaards, and talking about her family and just what life has been like, kind of living there close to Rio Hondo, kind of being involved in the organization. And so Cole will talk about his days, I'm sure some of his peers, and kind of what life has been like on the road as a trucker, maybe if things have changed much here in the recent years, based off of all the craziness that is kind of the transportation industry. We'll get into all of it here. So let's dive in. We're going to hear some Atlanta Braves bragging, I'm sure, as well as some excitement for the upcoming college football playoff with his Michigan Wolverines. So it is my privilege to bring to you our guest this Friday, Mr. Cole Barrett. That's for you, Cole. That's for you. That's for you, buddy. One of the best fight songs in all of college football. Hail to the victors indeed. Cole Barrett, welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going very well, man. You must be in a very good mood. For those not watching on YouTube, Cole is decked out in some Michigan apparel.
That's right. Go blue, baby.
Go blue indeed. Well, you know what?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, no kidding. You got to be on cloud 9 right now, because as a sports fan, generally our teams don't, for the multiple teams you root for, they don't always are successful at the same time, but you got to be riding high right now. Your Braves are World Series champions and Michigan is in the college football playoff.
That's right. It's it doesn't happen very often, and it usually like school time, when school starts, it's either you're excited because the Braves are doing well, but they look forward to Michigan football, and then sometimes the Braves don't do well, then right off the bat Michigan does something dumb, and then during the Christmas time, and it's just no baseball, no football. You just wait till next year. It's not your Cubs fan. Wait till next year.
Got to deal with Christmas. Yeah, indeed. Well, Cole, welcome to the show, man. This is going to be fun. It's been a long time coming. We'll talk about each of your teams and, the reason maybe why you root for. People are like, Atlanta and Michigan, what's up here, from a California guy. But so we'll get into that. We'll talk to you a little bit about, your line of work. You've been a truck driver for a long time. So I have a few questions there, especially related to the transportation industry now. And then, of course, a little bit of RHP, memory lane and such. You were from the class of 1989. So a lot to talk about. First, I got to ask you, Cole, have you listened to any of the Get Home Safe podcasts?
Yes, I have. Coach Drain, for Nana Goodwill, my wife, Julene. I started watching Jim Hanna, but being out on the road, sometimes you lose horrible connection, so I never got to finish that one.
It's all good, man. Yeah, I'm glad I can keep you awake out there while you're on the road, man. We got to keep you awake and alert. I don't want to put you to sleep, Cole.
No, we're all good.
Awesome. Well, Cole, we'll get into the sports topics here soon, but tell me about I always find it interesting how people discovered Care Youth League, kind of their story of getting into Rio Hondo Prep and everything. Where did you grow up? How did you get involved in Care Youth League and eventually Rio Hondo?
Well, my mom worked in Los Angeles and my dad was a truck driver. So my dad was gone a lot. And so my mom needed help. So if you want to call it a babysitter. So when I was a lot younger, my mom had to drop me off somewhere, and all things work out. And I was dropped off by at the house of the Kirby's, Mrs. Loomis's mother, and Dan Kirby's mother. So I've been with the Kirby's for a very long time. I consider Grandma Jean almost like my second mother. So before school, I was at her house. After school, I went to her house. So I've been around Kirby's a lot. And if anybody knows, the Kirby's been in Care Youth League a long time. So it didn't take long to get involved in Care Youth League, staying at the Kirby. So that was back in 1977. So that's when I started, became an Atlantic Pirate, and the rest is history. So that's how it started, going to the Kirby's house, and then they got me into it.
Atlantic Pirates, man. Yeah, I got so many Atlantic Pirate people on this podcast. Drives me nuts. But hey, so who were some of your coaches? Who were some of your early leaders that you remember?
Mr. Orsburn, back before he was superior, back before he was a trader. No, I'm just kidding. Mr. Orsburn. Yeah, he was the beginning. And then from Mr. Orsburn, I went to I had Chris Horton. I had Greg Loomis. I've had Mr. Francis Ostergaard. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Mr. Francis Hampton. I know I'm missing somebody. But that's pretty much it. I started out with Mr. Orsburn. I went to Mr. Orsburn a long time until I got into like KLA, and that's when I became an orange person. And that was Mr. Chris Horton and Mark Hartwig for a little bit. I had Steve Martin for a little bit. But mainly it was Mr. Orsburn. He got me through a lot from 77 up until I got into KLA program, and that was become Mr. Chris Horton.
Yeah, a lot of different personalities there, a lot of different types of leaders and different strengths and different styles, indeed, for sure. So what would you say was your favorite part of Care? Did you enjoy the sports aspect? Did you have a specific sport you like more than others?
Yeah, sports and Mount Care. Those are the two things. Baseball was my favorite. I love playing baseball. I was probably a little bit better in football, but I love baseball. And Mr. Orsburn, he taught me a lot during the beginning. For instance, when you're on second base, 1 or no outs, when the ball's hit on the ground, you don't need to run to third. Just take a second. So,
that's cool. That's really cool. So you get into Rio Hondo Prep, high school, and you were telling me you had kind of a very small class. Well, there's a lot of small classes at Rio, but there was no like junior class below you guys when you graduated?
When I graduated, there was no junior class. My senior class was 8. But when we came in as freshmen, I got to back up because a lot of people don't know, or maybe a lot of people do know, is back in junior high at Rio Hondo Prep, we had 2 8th grade classes, an 8A and 8B. But when I became into high school, that's when they stopped doing the 2 classes for 8th grade. And so we had 2 8th grade classes go in as one freshman class. So we had over 20 students as a freshman. But then over time, it got down to 8. And then we had no junior class when I was a senior. And then the sophomores were Rick Johnson, Todd Carson, Pete Hart.
Oh, okay. So they were, I mean, and all those guys, especially guys like Rick, I mean, they played up and they were a little older anyway, but so that's kind of an interesting dynamic, your older senior group of guys, and then these young up and comers that you knew those guys were pretty talented coming up, but they weren't you guys, right? They weren't your seniors like you and Harry and such.
No, they weren't, but I mean, they were playing varsity when they were freshmen. We lost in my junior year when Dave Carson and Randy Johnson were seniors. We lost to Templeton in the championship game, but Rick Johnson played up, Todd Carson played up as freshmen, so they
Wow.
played an important part of that year. So
Talk to me.
They were really good, that class.
Oh man, yeah, I've talked to a lot of them and have heard stories. But talk to me about that junior year. I take great pride in the Rio Hondo Prep football tradition, and unfortunately, '87 didn't quite go the way you guys wanted it to. I believe you guys were undefeated up until the championship game, right?
That's correct. We beat Templeton earlier in the year, and then we played them again in championship, and we were undefeated. And the championship game was the day after Thanksgiving. That's what it was back in the 8-man football. And so, but that year was really great until that last game. I have never watched that championship game. I've watched all the other games, but I've never watched that championship game.
Oh man. Well, so tell me, I mean, they were older than you, but they were seniors. That was their last game. Randy Johnson, Rod Heaton, Dave Carson Jr. I mean, those three guys were just, from what I hear, just really special dudes on the football field.
Very special, especially Randy, because his dad was the head football coach. And I remember his senior year, Mr. Johnson sent in a play we'd never run before, didn't know what it was. He sent it in, and Randy said, "This is what we're doing." We never ran it, but Randy told everyone what to do, told the line where to go, and we ran the play. I don't remember much. I just remember the huddle going, "Man, I'm glad we had this guy as our quarterback." He's phenomenal, and Dave Carson and Rod Heaton, one of the two toughest guys I've ever played with. And so yeah, those guys were very special. Harry Joe, that's another thing that helped as well that year with Harry. He was in my class. He was our center, and he's very smart. So he told the line, when we got up to the line, he's the one that did all the blocking assignments. And so between Harry Joe playing center, telling what the line what to do, and Randy Johnson quarterback,
man,
win.
Yeah, I think at any level of football, center is like the most underrated position, I think, in all of football, because it starts with you. You got to snap it and then block. So guys kind of have an advantage on you. And then like guys like Harry Joe kind of leading the charge and what to do. So what positions did you play on varsity football?
Varsity football, because Randy was there. So I was running back and receiver, and defense I was corner. But what was funny was Rod, if you remember 8-man football, just a 3-man backfield. And I played fullback and Rod was the tailback. So it looked kind of funny back there, the smaller guy being here. But Rod was fast and strong. So as long as I stayed in front of him, I wouldn't get run over, and he'd just run over whoever he came across.
So any big moments for you when everyone's either keying on Rod Heaton or keying on the big tight end Dave Carson? Did you ever fake them all out and throw one out to the Barrett man out there?
No, all we did one time was I was in a slot, and we would always just pitch it to Rod around the end and have an extra blocker. And one time, Mr. Johnson said, "Hey, we're going to do a counter." So we pitch to Rod around the end, and I came countering in the middle. It was a pretty big run. So that was one of my biggest.
Nice.
plays.
Well, I could see you playing corner out there because, your sons were good football players out there on the, did that kind of take you back watching them play, especially playing that guy corner position?
Yeah. And then watching them play, I'm thinking, man, 8-man football in the smaller field. I'm like, that field is very large, and I don't know if I can handle that. That's a lot of field to cover. But they seem to do pretty well, so it's pretty fun to watch.
Now, you guys lost to Templeton in the final, but you beat them earlier in the year. Now, where was that? Because for those that don't know, Templeton is like way up north, right? I mean, did you guys have to make that trip twice or once, or how did that work?
I don't remember. I think we played them at home, and they were kind of upset that they had to come down twice. But I believe we played them at home the first time as well. So, and I just remember going after the game, we had some players who were kind of saying, "Oh, we beat them already, so it should be all right." But and then another issue I had with the game being the day after Thanksgiving was, like you said, Templeton had to come far. So for them, that particular day, it was a regular school day for them. They probably went to school, got on a bus, and drove down. For us as players down here, guys sucked in. I know some guys went to the mall. So, and I remember in the first quarter, it took for us a little bit to get going. And by then it was a little too late, I think. But that was very frustrating to me during the game, realizing that they're a lot faster than us. And I don't remember that the first time when we played them. What happened?
It's so funny how routines matter in football specifically, like doing what you always do. That's why coaches are so paranoid at the college level. They micromanage every little detail that guys do and everything, because you're managing young kids. And, we were all in high school once, and we do think, oh, that's not a big deal. You think you can do anything. You can go, I'll go, I don't know, swimming at a park or something, and then go play a football game or play some hoops and play, but you think you're invincible at that age. And that's why football is great, because it shows you that as a kid, no, you're not. There's, it's a competitive world out there.
Yeah, not only that, if you look at starting pitchers, they have on game day, they have their routine all the way through, from time to wake up, what to eat, when they eat, all that kind of stuff. I see the same sort of thing with that particular day, where the Templeton had their routine and we were just goofing off.
Man. Well, that's a bummer. That's one more banner Rio should have up there. Only have a few runners up, but
My son's asking me about that all the time. We'll sit there watching basketball and say, "Hey, Dad, where's your banner?" Sucking the arm.
Ouch. That one hurts. Hey, oh man. Well, you're not bitter about it at all. That's good. It's been, what is it, 40 years later. Oh man. Good stuff.
I always show the 82 banner with Dave Guerrero, Scott Moore, because I was their water boy that year in 1982. So I go, that's my banner. Right
there you go. I like it. Talk to me, Cole, about Rio Hondo football. This last year, I had a lot of fun talking about Rio football, recapping games and everything. I think it's one of the best kept secrets out there about just the tradition and the great success of the program. I mean, do you remember watching? You were the water boy, right, for the 82 team. I mean, Isn't it special how you watch people kind of as you get closer to it, and then all of a sudden it's you, and then now, we're all the old men looking back on all this stuff. I mean, Rio Hondo, talk to me, if you will, about Rio Hondo Prep football.
Well, it's a lot of hard work. It was always, even when I played, Mr. Dowd was kind of our conditioning guy. And I think conditioning has always been a big part of Rio Hondo football. And it seems like it's still that today. As far as this year, watching JG run around, it's like, I was his dad's water boy. So it was pretty, and then my son Parker played with David Guerrero Jr. So, been around the Guerreros a long time, and that's a lot with Rio Hondo football, is you get a lot of players that are playing that where their fathers played, and so that makes it very unique with Rio Hondo football. Between the conditioning, I think it's always been since day one, and the continuation of families to Rio Hondo Prep football, and it just kind of passes along to one another, I guess. And with being part of Cariathic, being close knit, everybody coaches all the time, so everybody's been around the program a long time. So that makes it very unique compared to other schools, I think.
That's a very, very good answer, for sure. I remember watching some footage of, Jim Hanna was recently on. I watched some footage of that 77, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that looks just like Chaz. It looks just like Robbie, and they look like him, obviously, because he's their dad. But I'm like, the similarities, the movements and everything. It's like, wow, that's so cool to see. Just you just put the same name on the back, or if we had names or whatever. But yeah, it's just so cool. Well, talk to me, if you will, about since you were kind of in the middle of it all, then Randall Johnson, you mentioned him already. It's kind of the architect of the Rio Hondo success, really, and he was there for so long. What was he like to play for? I don't know, any funny stories? You mentioned the play coming in that was wrong, but just, I mean, what did Mr. Johnson mean to you in Rio Hondo football?
Well, Mr. Johnson was also my class advisor. Mr. Johnson, were our class advisor. So I had him a lot, and he really he was serious. He wasn't one. So when he would crack a joke, it was funny because hey, he's cracking a joke. So, um, but you knew when he's always serious, but you knew when he was really serious, and he would give you like a little head tilt kind of thing. And so that's when you knew you were kind of in trouble or you did something wrong. But when he corrected you, it was in a way that it was very understandable, and he explained things to me anyways. He explained it to me. He took me aside many times and said, you got to do it this way, or this is what you have to do. Um, and I really appreciated that. But he was straightforward, and he had a mind like you wouldn't believe. I mean, for instance, we'd be in class, we'd say, hey, we want to schedule something. And he would just sit there and look at us and say, no, I can't do it. We have something that day. Something's going on. His mind with the calendar, everything was memorized. He knew everything. He never had notes because he just knew everything. So that was just always amazing to me. Was you could just ask him anything, anytime, and he would just know the answer. So
Wow. I didn't know that much. I just remember my image of him is like him standing there on the sideline, like with using his hand on the shoulder of a player, sending in a play, and you just see the wheels spinning. Wheels. Okay, what are we gonna do here? Now coaches have play sheets and all this other stuff, and that's probably a good thing. But yeah, Randall Johnson. That's what I always remember is him like leaning in. Okay, yeah, let's do this, and then send the kid in.
you got it. You got it. Nailed it to a T.
And then, of course, Mr. Lunny, who was the defensive guy. You talk about not as far, he had a serious side, but he also had a very humorous side, and he knew how to build you up and then, tear you down and build you back up too.
Yeah. Oh, when he got the scouting report for the next game, he would say every time, these guys are good. These guys are going to mop you all the field. You aren't going to be able to compete. You guys are no good. These guys are just going to knock you out. But this is how we're going to do it, though. He show us he'd write everything out because you probably know his writing was very good. I know because he's a music guy, so he would hand out our notes for the week, and he explained it pretty well, and we come out victorious 99% of the time. It seemed like, but he always come out saying, "You guys are no good. You're gonna be sucking buttermilk," but come out on top with his coaching. So it worked out good.
he knew how to motivate.
Yeah, he always say, "Oh man, I better wash my mouth out with a Coke." So that's pretty fun.
Oh, good old Coach Lund. Hey, it helps to have an artist because he draw things and
Yep.
a sketcher and a painter. I mean, it helps to have an artist who's the defensive coordinator too, right? And drawing up X's and O's. Exactly. Oh man, well, good stuff.
His O's were like perfect, all nicely filled in, and the lines, how to block, where are they going to come, or you just stop them. It was perfect.
Yeah, I drew it right here. This is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I want to work. No, special stuff. And you mentioned baseball, Cole. You've always been a guy with love of baseball. Was it that way in high school for you as well? Did you guys have a decent team, decent playoff run or anything?
Well, it was hard because Dave. We had two pitchers. We had Rod and Dave Carson. Dave was the main guy. He can throw heat, but he didn't have much of a changeup. His curve was but he can blow it by you. But every once in a while, they would catch up, and hit him pretty well sometimes. But so baseball wasn't really, we weren't that great in baseball, but it was still enjoyable enough to play. We won some games, so it was fun. Mr. Johnson was still our coach because he was the coach for football and baseball. Mr. Johnson coached the girls basketball, but so that's what baseball was.
I always feel like you get to the end of the year with baseball, like in the high school season, springtime rolls around, you're like, okay, you can see the finish line. It's like, okay, baseball, here we go. And you play hard, you work hard at it. But like, I don't know, that temptation of summer is right there. And so maybe, and baseball is a sport where you have to put in extra work, extra all the time. And even before the season. So maybe that's why Rio has struggled a little bit in baseball, though have had some good years too. But just it's that game that you just have to play all the time, really, to be really successful at it.
Yeah, and then Mr. Johnson always tried to do incentives about going to batting cages, hitting buckets of balls. But it's hard when the weather's getting good. Beach is calling. So, but
Exactly. Yeah,
so,
definitely. Well, so 89, graduate high school. And did you work in RHLA, or kind of what was life like after high school for you?
yeah, I was in RHLA for 1 year. My coach was Dave Carson. We coached the junior high guys for that 1 year. And then I moved on. I worked at In-N-Out Burger for quite a while. So yeah, I was on RHLA for a year.
In-N-Out Burger. So, I mean, I'm a big fan, of course, but like quality you could taste, of course. I mean, even in later years here, I'd be, seeing kind of just how professional and well run that organization is. I mean, has it just always been that way? Just super constant, super consistent?
Oh yeah. Mr. Dowd allowed me, he's our basketball coach. He allowed me in the summer I was going to be a senior to work at In-Out during the summer. So I worked at In-Out during the summer, and then we had summer basketball. So a lot of times I go from work to summer basketball. And even back in high school, everything was run. I think it's still run the same today as it was back then.
Yeah.
Everything's accounted for. You're sharp. You got to know what you're doing. And then when I ended up going into the warehouse, the same sort of thing. Everything's a commitment to everything's got to be right.
Yeah.
So quality was number one, efficiency. So I think it was the same back then as it is now. It's pretty
I think a lot of organizations, businesses, whatever, could learn a thing or two from the way In-N-Out is run, especially all the different stores it has. And I got to tell you, someday they got to make a fragrance that has that In-N-Out burger smell when you drive. I mean, there's nothing like that. It's to me the best. We need that fragrance.
Driving by, not even see it, but smell it. Go, well, there's an In-N-Out around here somewhere. I can smell it.
Yeah, it's so unique. I was living in Covina a few years ago. We were across the street from one, and I was like, this is not a good situation at all. Not good. Still my Christmas Eve tradition, though. In-N-Out Burger every Christmas Eve for the past, 15 years almost, maybe 20 years.
Early because they closed early on Christmas Eve.
That's right.
And they even did that back then too. So yeah, I worked at the one on Arrow Highway and Grand Avenue. That's the one I worked at over by Russell Park. And then from there I went into the warehouse,
that's home. That's home for me, Cole. That's my home site. And yeah, I lived across the street from that place for a couple of years. And yeah, we made the walk over quite often.
There you go.
So In-N-Out Burger, after RHLA coaching, and then eventually stepped away from the program. And when did you get involved in truck driving, or kind of what were some other maybe other jobs you did after high school?
Well, after high school, like I said, I went to In-N-Out, and I was working 2 jobs, In-N-Out and there's a steakhouse in Pinnacle in San Dimas called Pinnacle Pete. People want to know that because you cut your tie off.
Yeah.
So, don't wear a tie there. So I was a cook there at Pinnacle Pete, and I was also working In-N-Out at the same time. And so doing the 2 jobs, and then it came opportunity In-N-Out to go into the warehouse. And so I took that because that was more of a 40-hour-a-week job, whereas working 2 part-time jobs. And then at that time, Julian and I were getting pretty serious, so took the warehouse job. And while I was being in the warehouse, that's when I got my Class A license, thanks to Mr. Peter Hamilton at Minuteman Transport. I basically went down, took a test, written test, got it, and then we rented a tractor through Mr. Hamilton at Minuteman and used one of his trailers. My dad and I practiced for about 2 days, and I went down to the DMV, took the drive test, and got my license. So I became a fill-in driver if someone called in sick at In-N-Out when I was in the warehouse, or if stores material couldn't fit on the trailer and I had to run the remaining material out to another store, then I would jump in the truck and take that. And then I eventually got my own route in In-N-Out, and then once I got in the truck at In-N-Out, that was it. And then from In-N-Out, I was in there for a while. Then they changed the hours, So I ended up leaving In and Out, worked for Mr. Amundsen at Minuteman, became a dispatcher for about 3 years. And then I went and bought my own tractor, and I worked for Mr. Amundsen at Minuteman and pulled for him for a couple of years. And then I stepped aside from him and I got a tanker, and I'm pulling a tanker and did that for a while. And then now I'm at where I'm at now, Warner Transportation.
Wow. Wow. Lots to unpack there. Mr. Amundsen's a special guy for sure. I worked for him at Minuteman for a few years. Those were good times. Our paths never crossed there. But no, he was a fun guy to work for. What a great, well-run company he has. You mentioned your wife, Julene. Now we gotta settle something here. First of all, it was around this time of year, if I remember the story correctly, where you guys were running a Christmas tree lot. And that's when the spark started, I guess, the first date. But she said, Cole, you guys kind of despised each other before then.
Yeah, in high school, we didn't get along too well. Yeah. Yeah, she's in the class with Dave and Rod and Randy. Yeah, we didn't get along too well.
No.
But like you said, Christmas tree, a lot of things change, and I guess from there I realized I guess she's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you go from, kind of not liking someone to kind of building up courage? It's hard enough asking the old ladies out, when you actually are attracted to them, let alone, when you had a history of not liking each other.
I guess just talking, after talking real things and conversations, your likes and dislikes and such. And then I guess we were more in common than I thought.
Yeah, there you go. That's hilarious. Yeah, when she told me that story, it was great. Can I ask you, while kind of she's on the topic here, with her podcast I did with her, we talked a lot about Francis Ostegard and Philip Ostegard, and just what incredible men they were. And to us who are coming up, just the countless stories and memories of them, their passion. I mean, if you could speak about those two men, that since they've now passed on, kind of your interaction with them as a son-in-law and a nephew-in-law or whatever.
Yeah. Well, because like the 1 year in our chalet, I built a relationship with him because he was in charge of us, part of our chalet, with that 1 year I was there. So we met with Mr. Archegard twice a week, I believe it was. So that was, I learned, I didn't really know him as much back in our chalet until we started having those meetings. And then of course, Philip with camp, being a coach and stuff, going after summer camps, with Phil Boschgard. So you kind of already had a relationship with him. So he was pretty special. And then we started going, dating, and then getting married, and then Christmases and Thanksgiving with both men. It's just amazing to me during just seeing them together those times, and how much they really loved and cared for Care Youth League. That's probably 90% of the conversations during those times was about Care Youth League. What are we going to do? How are we going to make things better? What do we got to do? And that's where you just learn the dedication they had for Care Youth League and Rio Hondo Prep.
Yeah, two incredible men that were always seemed happy, especially Philip. Philip was, he couldn't walk without humming or singing something. So you'd always hear that. His brother Francis was just quiet, this calm, quiet, stoic character that, you'd see him walking down, he'd pick up trash all the time. He's walking down from his place to his office, and you're just like, man, if we should all aspire to be anywhere close to what these guys were. And it's just sad that they're gone, but we miss them, and we try to honor them every day with our actions, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and nothing. I don't think people saw, but Mr. Phil Washco, because him living in the back 40 like that, you see him running all the time. He won't run very far, but he's always trying to run every day in that back 40. So
wow,
run back to his house or run to his office. and jogging around. So it was kind of fun.
He had some energy, man. I don't know what
Yes, he did.
oh my goodness. The energy, his speeches at Mount Care were epic. Remember him? He had giant staff one year, like a Goliath thing, and then the harmonica, of course. Come on. Awesome stuff there. And then man.
It can't be. I always tell the Sergeant York story.
Mm.
So that was always fun to me when he told that story to the boys when I was coaching up there, and he would tell those stories up there at Viking Hill under the stars.
Oh man, Mount Care, what a spot, what a place. So you talked about truck driving. You spent a lot of time on the road. What are you currently doing? Are you on the road still a lot, or are you teaching more? What's your current position situation?
Yeah, I'm over the road, 48 states. And basically, I get guys that had just gotten their license who went through trucking school. They just had a license, and then now I really teach them how to drive, because when they go through trucking school to get their license, they just learn how to get the license. That's basically about it. And then I get them, and we're out on the road and try to teach them the best I can how to back up. Mainly, they don't really know how to back up. They backed up just enough to get their test, to get their license, but to actually back up out on the road is a little bit different. So that's most of the training there, and then out on the highway and going to different warehouses and such. And that's basically what I do.
It's
I have
interesting.
for about 21 days. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're on the road how many days?
Well, I get a student that I get. It's usually there between 21 and 25 days. I have them for, and then I turn them in, and they test out. If they test out, they get their own truck with Warner Transportation, and then I get a new student. So usually about 23 to 27 days, I have a new student with me.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it in the big trucks, Cole, because I've been driving at FedEx now for over a year, and the biggest trucks I drive a box truck, or it's called a 900. It's longer, but like when I first started, I was like, wait, I have to operate this thing, like I backing up and parking and everything. I'm just like, there's no way. I've gotten way better at it now, but I don't know how do you operate something that's so big, especially the rig. I mean, I just don't understand. Is it just repetition, or is it, I don't know. What is there any secret?
No secret. Just for one, don't be afraid of it. Just get in and do it. Just like when you first got your license to drive a car, same thing. The more you did, the more you got comfortable with it, and now you can handle it. So the same when you moved up to that box truck, the more you did, the more confident you are with it. So that's the same thing with this. Just
Definitely.
get in and do it.
So what is it? Now with trucking, did you have I knew you were working for In-N-Out, you were saying, but is there with truckers, is it like you're a free agent? You're kind of like, hey, what do you need transported? Or do you deliver specific goods or specific companies all the time? Or is it kind of mix and match of everything?
Well, the company I'm at now is pretty much, they have different divisions. They have a flatbed division, a reefer division, refrigerated, and then a dry box division. And I'm in the dry box division. So anything to do with dry freight, anything from pet food to paper towels, anything in between, that's what I haul. And usually with the students, they keep us on particular accounts, like for instance, Walmart or a FedEx or UPS, where you're picking up a loaded trailer, you deliver it, you drop off that loaded trailer, and you pick up an empty trailer, go to the next place and pick something up, where you're constantly just picking up and dropping off trailers.
Yeah.
Now the reefer division, you do more of the actual delivering, where you go to like a grocery warehouse, you back up to the dock, and then they offload it. But like I said, I'm a dry box, where I pretty much just take the loaded trailer, drop it, get it empty, and move on to the next one.
I've as an Uber driver, I've picked up a lot of truck drivers who are in town, and they don't have transportation. They need to go wherever. And so I talk with a lot of these guys, and I find it interesting that, you're driving across the country or whatever. I mean, you're I know the beds in the trucks now are a lot better than probably they used to be, but still it's not a normal bed. I mean, that's got to get uncomfortable. And just kind of being, you're with a student now, but when you're just on the road by yourself, is it kind of weird? Just like nights when you got a family way back home in California?
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So
yeah.
You gotta pay the bills, So That's just the way it is. But it's like any line of work, there's got its pluses and minuses. When I'm out on the road, uh, I see sunrises, sunsets that you can't see here. I'm driving down the road at night and see stars. Kind of hard to see stars here sometimes, the way things are lit up here. So, but being away from family sometimes is harder. It's usually easier now that the kids are older. Uh, when they were younger, it was much more difficult. But when they were younger, I tried to run my routes so I can be there at least for their games. So that was kind of nice. But it's just part of life.
What about current events, if you will? We don't have to get into too much, but like it seems to me like the entire transportation industry is it's what's the proper term here? It's definitely has some obstacles. We'll say it's been that way in the shipping industry. I can tell you, but as far as trucking, has it slowed down? Have there been more obstacles? I mean, there's a lot of people that kind of need things right now, and for a lot of it, there's delays. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So, what can you speak of, kind of regarding that matter?
Well, as far as how it affects me, I really haven't seen a different effect other than when during the pandemic hit for toilet paper, paper towels, that type of stuff. Um, Other than that, even today, there's really not. It hasn't affected me.
Mm.
I know it's affected some other industries. How they always say there's a driver shortage, but I'm out on the road and there's some guys that say, well, we go to a place and we'll sit for 3 hours waiting for them to give us our load. Well, if we had more drivers, there'd be more drivers here sitting waiting because they can't load us. So what's the point of having more drivers if we can sit here and wait?
Mm.
And I've had other drivers tell me, yeah, I'll go there and they're like waiting on us. So I think it's all just depends on exactly what you're trucking. But like I said, as far as for me, it hasn't really been any different.
No, that's interesting that it's not just you're right. It's not just the drivers. It's things need the docks got to be offloaded. We got we got to get everything into the trucks first of all. So it doesn't matter if you got no one to drive them. So interesting stuff. It's just crazy. The past year or so has just been nuts. I mean, I was unemployed for a few months like most people, and then I said, okay, I got to get back out there, and was grateful to find a job that I really do enjoy. But it's tough. There's still people not working, and there's a lot of work available out there, right?
Oh yeah. When we go to truck stops, every single truck stop says we're hiring. I mean, they have a table in the truck stop already set. So if you come in and want to get a job, you can sit right down there with the manager right then and have the interview and probably get hired. Whereas before the pandemic, I had to deal with my children when going for a job, whereas everything is online. Back when Joanne and I, or even by yourself when you're younger, you go get a job, you just fill out the application, they look at you, and okay, come back for a meeting. But nowadays, everything is online. You fill it out, and you might not even get a call back. But with the pandemic now, and what affected what I've seen is wherever we go, and they have open interviews basically at every spot. Any restaurant we go to, even warehouses that we're going to, we're hiring. But there's many openings everywhere wherever I see it.
Oh, it's everywhere. And I've even seen the places say start today, like right now. If you're, it's just like if you're willing to work, you can clean up right now. If you're willing to work 2 or even 3 jobs and get out there and put out the work, there's so much available. And I hopefully people take advantage of it, because when it's the other way, when people aren't hiring and you can't find anything that suits you, I mean, right now, especially if you're young, this is a good time to try a bunch of different things out and see what works for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. If you don't try it, if you don't like it, after a few months, there's plenty of stuff out there to try something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point there, Matt.
Lot of options, man. Lot of options. Well, wish you nothing but the best on the road. I'm sure. How long does you planning on going, Cole? You're gonna keep doing this a few more years on the road, or are there other ways you can kind of slow down a bit?
Well, I want to get back to be local because Peyton is 8th grade right now. So when she becomes a freshman in high school, with all the other kids, I was always there for the most part for their game and stuff, and I want to be the same for her. So I'm going to start looking here soon to try and become local, so I don't have to be on the road all the time. I want to be here for Peyton. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice. And you said you drive all over the country. You're not just in a region. I mean, you end up other half of the country all the time.
Yeah, 48 states. So just last week I was in Omaha.
Wow.
Before then I was in North Carolina. So
and you know how to push. You can just go. You can just put the the pedal to the metal and just get rolling and not have to stop too often.
Well, we try, but unfortunately the DOT, Department of Transportation, has some guidelines we have to follow.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not like back in the day when you can. I mean, I would get in California and drive straight from California to Albuquerque, New Mexico, get a bite to eat, get some fuel, and then drive from Albuquerque up to Chicago. And I can do that in about 2 days, but you can't do that now.
No.
You got to follow the guidelines. You got to have a mandatory 10-hour break. You got to stop for 30 minutes before you drive 8 hours. So there's some guidelines there now we have to follow. So it's not as much put the hammer down and get going.
Yeah, seems like a younger man's kind of job what guys would excel with just energy and everything. But all the truck drivers, man, I've come across, they're just like salty guys, just salt of the earth. Just say, yeah, I was in Arizona last night and I'm going to Texas. It's just, they're all good guys. And I'm just like, man, you're in a truck all day just by yourself. Like, yeah, maybe there's some peace to it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, a CV sometimes comes in handy. Talk on a CV, but like I said, with me as a student, so I'm usually teaching something.
That's got to be fun. That's got to be a lot of fun. Well, Cole, let's talk about some sports if we can here. First of all, I know you're a big Atlanta Braves fan, the World Series champion Atlanta Braves, and your Michigan Wolverines are a game or two away from a national championship. So let's first talk about the Braves. We got to go back to 2020. I know, a little painful for you. Up 3-1 on those Dodgers. Unfortunately, kind of blow the lead. The Dodgers win and go on to win the World Series. Similar situation this year. After Dodgers won Game 5, I think it was. Were you a little nervous, thinking, "Oh, here we go again"?
Yeah, but I felt a little bit different.
Okay.
For some reason, but yeah, that it creeps in your mind. But I'm just a fan. Don't hang you about it. Just roll with the punches.
That's it. So
yep.
So I have to ask. We have to make this known to everyone. Okay, the Atlanta Braves. You're a Southern California kid. How in the world does one become, of all teams, an Atlanta Braves fan?
Well, you probably remember back in the day. I think, I'm not sure. You're still kind of a young buck, but when I was growing up, baseball wasn't on like it is today. It was on one day on Saturdays. You can watch This Week in Baseball on Saturday morning, get all your highlights for the week, and then the game would come on, and there's only one game of the week. So this particular Saturday, one weekend, the Dodgers were on TV. So watch the Dodgers, and they were winning this particular game pretty handily, and then they lose it late in the innings. Sunday comes along. I already had tickets to go with my pop to the game on Sunday. So we go to the game on Sunday. Dodgers are up. They do the exact same thing. They blow it late innings. On the way out, I said, "Dad, I want to buy a new hat." So we bought a new hat. And that hat was the Atlanta Braves. So luckily it wasn't like a Pittsburgh Pirate team or something that did it. It happened to be the Braves. So I've been a Braves fan ever since. That was, I don't know, I think 1982.
Wow.
83, something like that.
So how did it, you just looked and did you blindly grab from the selection, or how did it work?
Because the Dodgers were playing the Braves that weekend.
Oh, okay.
That's who they lost to. And so after losing back-to-back games, I watched them on TV on Saturday, which is very rare to see the Dodgers being in LA, and they're at home. And then I got to go to the game on Sunday, and they lost to them again. I'm like, well, that's it. Dodgers, you're done. I'm out of here.
I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
Little do you know, did you know that it kind of doesn't matter which hat it is? Anyone who's ever been a fan knows your team lets you down, probably more often than not.
Yeah, that's right. But being a little kid, I don't know, 12, 13, whatever it was, I'm like, that's it. If you guys are losers, I guess I'll go for a winner. So
Yeah.
even though the Braves were horrible that year, past couple of years, so but I just wrong. I don't know. I can't explain it. Just
Well, no, but you had a nice run there in the 90s. I mean, I think there was only one World Series title though, right? But like three or four appearances.
Yeah, 3 and 4. Then 1990 we were the worst team in the National League, and in '91 we made the World Series. That's when we played the Twins with Game 7 with John Smoltz against Jack Morris, probably one of the best Game 7s of any World Series.
Yeah,
Twins won the game with Kirby Puckett. Yeah, we won in '96, but we were in the World Series in '91, '92, I believe, '99, '98. So we lost to the Yankees a couple times. So
Glavine, Maddox, Schmaltz. I mean, dude, what a staff over the years. Greg Maddox, he coached at UNLV a little bit. He yelled at me a little bit when I called a balk on one of his pitchers. He didn't like that so much, but no, he's a really nice guy. But now the Braves, great success, one of the iconic franchises, and really it's really the team of the entire South. There's nothing else down there. So you got people in Tennessee and people in Alabama who are Atlanta Braves fans. The Braves are not just Atlanta's team. They're like the South team.
Yep. Next to TBS, Super Station, especially younger. That's everybody can watch the Braves on TBS. They're in the South. You got it right. So that's how they have had so much success, I believe, is having so many fans that pull for them because they have such all that area down there in the South with TBS.
So what about all your buddies though? Most of your buddies, I'm sure, are Dodger fans, and I mean, family, friends. Like, what, Cole? What do did they think it was a phase maybe as you were younger? Like, oh, what are you rooting for the Braves for? What is going on?
I don't think so. My parents were always baffled. What are you doing? But as far as my friends, I don't remember them in high school. I remember, I always had a Braves hat. So I think they just accepted me for what it was, I guess. But my parents were always baffled. What are you doing?
Oh, and then you become a father and you corrupt all of your children as well. I mean, that's the true tragedy here, Cole, is that you have corrupted your kids to be Atlanta Braves fans. They need to choose for themselves.
Well, I'm sorry. They chose themselves for college football, I guess.
Tell me what it was like to have to experience the World Series championship. You had experienced, obviously seen it as a fan before, but to this time in 2021, to experience that with your entire family, all your kids who love the Braves like you do, how special was that moment?
Oh, it's great because in '96 it was just me. I mean, I didn't know anybody really, so I'm cheering. Oh, it's just me. The kids are too young to know what's going on, but this with them being older and they played and they're in it, so it makes it very special when it texts back and forth and you're watching. I'm watching the game maybe in another state while they're watching it at home. We're texting group texts back and forth while the games are going on, and so it was much more fun this time than it was in '96.
Yeah.
The kids,
Oh, I gotta be, absolutely. And then you've taken the family to a few Braves games at Dodger Stadium. You're very brave for doing that, by the way. That's a scary place. And then you guys have made a trip or two to Atlanta also, right?
Yeah, we went to a few years back when Turner Field the last season. Our summer vacation, we went there for a week, saw some games, and then we just went this last year, the week right after All-Star break. We were there for the first games back in the stadium from the All-Star break, so we took another vacation. I actually parked my truck at the terminal. Warner Transportation has a yard in Atlanta, so I stayed there, and the rest of the time we flew out. I picked them up, and we stayed at a hotel right near the stadium. It was pretty nice, and saw some games.
Nice. I've heard the new stadium has that, like, I think it's called the Battery out in front.
Yeah.
I've heard that's just a fun time, a fun place to be before and after
They
games.
have a big stage out front with grass, So you can sit and watch the game there on your chairs if you want. There's restaurants and stores and shops. They have a Mizuno store right there. That was pretty fun going into. They have all types of Mizuno gloves, bats, cleats, all that kind of stuff. That was a great store.
If you had to pick, what's your favorite Atlanta Braves memory from being a fan all these years?
That's a tough question. What it's either the David Justice home run in '96 or the Sid Bream slide against the Pirates.
Oh, with Barry Bonds throwing from left field. Yeah.
Yep. So those two were, even though they're the older ones, but although Freddie Freeman he hadn't hit grand slam at all his whole career, then he hit two like in the same week.
That was pretty nuts.
That was pretty exciting.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, there's something.
Freddie Freeman was supposed to go to Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, was he?
But the Braves snatched him up, said, "Oh, come play." So he never went to Fullerton, but he was committed to go to Cal State Fullerton.
Hey, I wish this game was in California, but apparently Fullerton and Michigan are playing a 3-game series this upcoming season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's out at Michigan, though.
Oh, well, I'll have to get the thing. Maybe I can schedule myself to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into Michigan, you or someone, Todd and I kind of, I don't know if we introduced you to it, but kind of, we were like, hey, you got to check out Cal State Fullerton baseball. And then you and your family kind of became big fans of college baseball because major league games add up, but college baseball is a little more affordable. You guys still follow Titan baseball a little bit? Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, a little bit. Especially now with the lockout, we'll probably go into a few more Fullerton baseball games. You guys set us up. We hooked us on to something pretty well. We'll be going some more.
No, it's a lot of fun. I remember
we enjoyed it.
We had some late nights. Remember, so those regional finals and stuff, where it was UCLA and Arizona, and it was like, yeah, those were fun games. And Todd and I, we were kind of addicts there for a while. Titan baseball games. Okay, so now you got the Michigan gear on. Now we're going to finally get to, okay, that was a nice, cute little Atlanta Braves story. How in the world does the Michigans, what's this connection? I got to hear this.
It all comes down to Mr. Money, actually, because back in the day, for us to earn money, we sold programs at the Rose Parade. And he would give a Rose Bowl game ticket to individuals that sold like the most programs. And so I that particular time got a ticket. I don't know how it broke down, but I was able to get a Rose Bowl game ticket. And so as you know, there's a lot of time between the parade and the game. I don't exactly know what I did at that time, but this was like, again, back in 82 or 83, somewhere back then. And I just remember getting to the Rose Bowl really early, but just watching these helmets and the colors. Of course, I guess it helped maybe because they're the same colors Atlantic Pirates. So maybe, but beginning of the game, watching those uniforms run out, it hooked me. Being that young, I wasn't really up into college football really at that time, but I kind of watched it on Saturdays, I guess. But that when I went to that game, that was the beginning of college football as a whole, and then Michigan as well, because just watching those guys run out in those uniforms, it was amazing. I don't remember. I'm sure Michigan lost, but I don't remember the game. I just remember before the game, them running out and thinking, man, that's looks pretty special.
Yeah, no, Michigan's lost a few Rose Bowls, especially to USC. But anyway, that's a nice little story too. I'll give you that. But again, yeah, Michigan, what in the world? We're like, you're all over the place. A lot of USC fans out here, obviously. So I remember I have a Michigan story. I think I've told you this. I can't remember if I've told you this. So in '97, Michigan has, the undefeated season and wins the '98 Rose Bowl over Washington State. The Heisman winner, Charles Woodson, cornerback on that team, and some backup quarterback known as Tom Brady was there. But anyway, I remember it was New Year's Eve, '97. and Michigan was practicing at Citrus College for a few weeks.
Yep.
And my dad got home early on New Year's Eve, and I was home, and he said, Matt, I was pulling off the freeway where I saw all these cars exiting at Citrus Avenue with Michigan flags and everything. He's like, let's go check it out. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. He was fired up. And so we go over to Citrus, was right around the corner from our house. And we get into that stadium. We've all been into that stadium. It's huge. And, Circus is there. We've seen football games. And I have never seen that stadium more full than it was that day, that afternoon. It was the Michigan pep rally before the game. Oh, both wow. Sides of the bleacher, both sides completely full, not pretty full, totally full. We stood at the top and watched the speeches from the team and the players. The band was there, the cheerleaders and everything. I'm just like, whoa, this is a big deal. This is the best team in the country. And then the next day they won the national championship, at least split it.
Yep, Nebraska. That was a year before the BCS started. So had the BCS been that year, we'd have played Nebraska for the championship game. So that's funny you said that, because I was actually went to one of the practice. I tried to go one of the practice. I couldn't get in, but I was standing, on Barranca's side on the fence. I was standing at the fence watching the practice through the fence or the bushes, move the bushes out of the way, looking through the fence. Yeah, they won't let anybody in, but that's pretty cool. You got to get in the pep rally. If I didn't know that, I want to try.
I couldn't, it would only have, is my dad got off work early and was driving home and saw these cars exiting. It was 98, 97. So there wasn't, I don't know, the internet and everything posting about it, but like we went over there and it was just like, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And again, I've seen that stadium full of, semi full for high school games and such, but that was the fullest I've ever seen that place. I couldn't believe that many people got into those stands at Citrus College. So good day for the Wolverines. There's been some lean years though, Cole. So let's build up to Jim Harbaugh gets there and he's supposed to save everything, but he can't beat Ohio State. He only beats Michigan State every now and then. Well, this year he finally does. No, he lost to Michigan State, didn't he?
We lost to Michigan State.
That's the only loss.
16-point lead, and we lost late in the game. It comes down. I know you're not supposed to say it comes down to one play, but in that particular game, it came down to 2 plays. We make those 2 plays and we win that game.
Yeah,
we should be undefeated, but hey, can't lose crying over spilt milk. So
that's right. That's
right. We ended up working out, so I can't complain.
No, I thought Harbaugh was great hire for them, but he couldn't win some of the big games. Although if you look at his track record, I mean, he's won, 10 games, a bunch of years, but Michigan has very, very high standards, like a lot of these other blue-blooded programs.
Yeah, that's correct. And when you can't beat your rival, that makes it even more, okay, you won 10 wins, but you also have State, so it makes it even more difficult. I think in the beginning when he first got there, he didn't really have a quarterback that he really wanted until he started getting the guys he has now, but he's kind of turned around now, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Going, everybody's talking about it right now. It's like, well, he's only beat him once in the playoffs once. Let's see what happens next year and the year after that. So,
no kidding, yeah. It was a great win over Ohio State, and then I was shocked at the beatdown they put on Iowa, 42-3. I mean. You probably expected them to win, but man, did you see that coming?
No, I didn't. I thought it was gonna be a little bit closer, because Iowa's defense was supposed to be pretty good. Although the first half they did really well. We scored 2 touchdowns on basically 2 trick plays. So for the first half they held us in check. The second half, I think our offensive line just kind of just weared them out. And we were able to run the ball a lot more efficiently than we were in the first half, because they started our rush in the first half. But once we got rolling, they couldn't stop.
Well, they're in for a tough test coming up here with Georgia, the SEC runner-up, undefeated all year, incredible defense. They got pushed around by Alabama. I mean, I know you want your Wolverines to win, of course, in the playoff game versus Georgia. I mean, what are your thoughts on the matchup? Are you pretty excited about it?
Well, yes, because as you saw with Alabama, it's like even though they weren't very good all year, they always found a way to win. But then when it comes down to it, look what they did to Georgia. So it's like if I play Alabama, let's wait till the championship game. So, Nick Saban, man. But Georgia, unfortunately, I haven't seen that much on Georgia. I mean, I couldn't even tell the quarterback's name. So, we'll see what happens. I know they're supposed to have a good defense, and so we'll see what happens.
Now, forgive me.
I didn't want no part of Alabama until we have to play them.
Until absolutely necessary. Yeah, no, I think a lot of schools feel that way. Even in a down year, they're still Alabama. They're just a juggernaut. Now, I don't remember. Has your entire family bought into your Michigan fanhood as well, or do they think for themselves in college football?
Yeah, no, this is where they think for themselves, I think. But only Jensen, she's my oldest daughter. She roots for Michigan. And then Peyton, my youngest daughter, she's kind of, I think she roots for Michigan, but the other ones, like Julian and the others, they root for University of Spoiled Children. I mean, USC. So, but I give them a break because Mr. Philip Ostergaard, Julian's dad, graduated from the USC. So I let that one slide because they've got a connection to it. So, but, we'll see who has the last laugh with SC's new hire. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think? What do you think of that with SC hiring Lincoln Riley, with Brian Kelly going to LSU? I mean, these crazy timing of it all, but these college football head coaching carousel we have.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but USC got a good one. I got a couple of friends, probably the Clarks, Paul and Pete Clark, Mrs. Clark, they're Oklahoma fans, so they're probably not too happy. I'm sorry for them, but for the USC people, I think they got a winner.
I think so. I hope so. It's like, okay, it's time. It's time. Enough of this mediocrity. Every fan base is delusional, I think, but USC is probably the worst. And it's like, okay, they're going to beat Alabama next year. No, you're not. Settle down.
Yeah.
What rivalry I really missed, though, Cole, was the Michigan Notre Dame rivalry. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hate's a strong word, but I hate Notre Dame just as much as Ohio State. In my disdain for teams is Ohio State, Notre Dame, and then Michigan State. And it comes down to that. But so when Brian Kelly left, that's okay by me.
Yeah. No problem. You know what? Thou shalt not. Well, whatever. We're not supposed to hate, but I think it's okay in sports. I think sports is the one place where a lot of things go that maybe you're not allowed to do or shouldn't do in other areas of life. That's why we have sports to have this outlet of anger and frustration and other emotions.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. I wish we would get that rivalry back going.
Yeah.
But with Notre Dame not being in a conference, they got to be careful in how many schools, who they choose to play. Because if they play too many schools, play USC, they play Michigan. So if they play too many schools that are that much better, then they have a shot of not making it. Just for instance, if chaos would have happened this last weekend, Notre Dame sitting at home while everybody else is playing a conference championship game could have made the playoffs, and they're sitting at home. So that's another reason why I don't like. I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't like Notre Dame. The fact they're not in the conference.
No, I agree. I said that
championship game like everybody else.
No, absolutely. Everyone else has played 13 games. They play 12, and I just don't like that they're like the exception. Now, BYU is independent also, but they're going to the Big 12. There shouldn't be independent teams. You need to be part of a conference. And I know Notre Dame's a huge brand and TV revenue and rights and this and that. It's all about money. That's all it ever comes down to, really. Everyone wears their logos on their shirts and everything, but it all comes down to money, the almighty dollar. But college football is pretty hot right now. Your Braves, again, World Series champs. Outside of college football and Major League Baseball, is there any other sports you kind of are interested in, or are those two kind of just above everyone else?
Those are about everyone else. When it comes down to hockey, our house is pretty divided when it comes to hockey. Jensen and I like the Kings. Parker likes the Canucks. Why the Canucks are Canadian, but he wants someone on the West Coast, and he started rooting for hockey. And Hudson is a Sharks fan. Cooper likes the new Kraken. So we're pretty divided here when it comes to hockey. Um, and then NBA basketball, we're not too much big fans. We can take 5 steps to make a layup. That's not basketball. So kind of stay away from NBA basketball. And so yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, that's it's not, it's funny how like I used to love all sports, or a couple that I liked before that I kind of, you develop your tastes, I think, as you get older. And I love football, I love combat sports, I love baseball, I love hockey. I mean, basketball, I'm like, I don't really need it. There's other sports I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't like that as much as I thought I did. But yeah, college football, it's a great time of year. The Christmas season, New Year's Eve, college football playoff game. I mean, you're gonna be able to be home and watch it with the family?
No, I'll be on the road because I'll be home for Christmas. So I'll be on the road somewhere trying to find Applebee's or Chili's or something. I don't know, try and watch it. We'll see.
You know what? It's not such a bad thing sometimes when you're kind of by yourself. Some people like to be in crowds and amongst people. I kind of like silence when I have a big game to watch. No distractions, just my voice screaming.
Yeah. You probably ask my wife, but like when we're watching games, we're pretty loud. So by being in a chosen way, it makes myself have to calm down a little bit. So it's probably a little bit better for her to do that.
I am a pretty quiet guy, soft spoken, but when my teams are not doing well, I get loud, I throw things. It's not a pretty sight. So no one should have to see it or hear it, but unfortunately,
not only that, it's the fact that we've all played, so we think we know what they're supposed to be doing. So we're yelling at the TV, like, what are you doing? You gotta do it this way. Like,
exactly. I know way more than that coach who makes $7 million a year. Exactly. I can tackle way better than that 300-pound guy out there. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, Cole, this has been fun, man. Talking some sports, talking about just your background in Rio and everything. And man, life's got to be good. Christmas time's coming. Got the 5 kids, most of them all grown up. I mean, yeah, man, I hope Thanksgiving went well, and hope the Christmas season is treating you well as well.
Yeah, I wasn't home for Thanksgiving, but I'll be home for Christmas, and we'll see how it goes. They had a good time. They FaceTimed me for Thanksgiving, so it worked out all right for a little bit. Then Christmas time's coming. I'll be home for that, and then we'll be on the road and be on the road for a while. We'll see what happens.
How long are you home? Like what are you home for, like 3 or 4 days, and then back on the road for what's kind of your general timeline?
Yeah, 3 to 5 days I'm home, and then I'm usually gone for a month and a half to 2 months.
Oh man, I didn't realize it was that long. I figured it'd be a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, by having a couple of students, depending on when I drop them off and who I pick up next, goes from there. So,
wow.
I try to stay at 2 months. That's like the longest. Probably like a month and a half is probably like the longest.
That's a long time, man. That's that's a summer trip.
Yeah, been many of those.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. Oh man, alive. So many good memories and good times. Well, man, you're the road warrior. Appreciate you taking some time to spend with me here and to catch up. It's been fun, and hopefully we see you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been great. Thank you.
All right. Have a Merry Christmas, Cole.
Merry Christmas, Matt. Thank you.
Well, a big thanks to Cole Barrett jumping on the program here with me today to talk Michigan football, Atlanta Braves baseball, and a few other topics as well. I used to text Cole when they played Notre Dame every year. I said, this is the one day a year I root for Michigan. And he would respond something like, I will take you for a day. So yeah, Michigan definitely has a challenge, an uphill battle on New Year's Eve against the Georgia Bulldogs in the college football playoff. But they do seem to have a little bit of momentum here with wins over Ohio State and Iowa, at 11-1 season, 12-1 season, that is, for the Michigan Wolverines, one of college football's most iconic brands. So Cole had some interesting stories there about how he became a Braves fan, how he became a Michigan fan. I don't agree with them necessarily, but I do appreciate that he does have a story, at least a reason behind his fanhood, which is something I always challenge people on, especially people who root for teams who are out of state or whatever. What's your story? What's your connection? Give me something that I can at least roll my eyes and be like, all right, I get it. Anyway, much love to the Barrett family. Great group of people. Always fun hearing about them and their family, and wish them nothing but the best. So to Cole, thanks for coming on the show. Julene, for the work behind the scenes and setting this up and everything. Greatly appreciate the Barrett family. So happy Merry Christmas, I should say, to them, and hopefully everything goes smoothly here this wonderful holiday season. Guys, that will wrap up the 2 shows for the week, our Tuesday episode, talking some sports topics and Christmas buildup, if you will, with just me and then our great guest today in Cole Barrett. Was a lot of fun catching up with him. Will be more shows next week as we inch closer and closer to Christmas Day. It's coming, whether you like it or not. Get those presents wrapped, get those gifts, get everything made and get everything ready, all the good food and the cookies and everything. It's coming, guys. Hopefully the households you're in are having a good time and not stressing too much. Enjoy this time of year. We're supposed to enjoy it. So we're getting closer. Next week, we'll have another show on Tuesday with a more Christmas top 10 list, if you will, as well as kind of some reactions to some of the sports news and other news around the world. And then Friday, try to have another guest for you guys. That's the plan for now. So you guys know the format now. We're rolling right along. I don't know when I'm going to take a much needed break from the podcast, but at some point I will probably take a month off or so to recharge the batteries, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. Still pushing forward here on the Get Home Safe podcast. As always, guys, there's plenty of ways to reach out to us and contact us if you like. Or follow us. Our Twitter our Instagram and Facebook page is Get Home Safe Podcast. Our Twitter handle is Get Home Safe Pod, and our email address is gethomesafepodcast@yahoo.com. If you have some questions or topics, or you want to react to some of the things I have said, by all means, shoot me an email. I will read it on the air. You can also send in a voice message. The link to that is in the bottom of the episode notes, should you so feel inclined. You can also add to my Christmas list, if you will, with your favorite movie, maybe some of your favorite Christmas songs, Christmas traditions. Would love to hear from you guys as we get closer and closer to December 25th, the best day of the year, in my opinion. So that's what's going on here on the podcast. And we'll just keep putting out content for you guys here as we finish up 2021 with a bang. Man, it's hard to believe it's 2021 is over. We just started this thing. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Safe travels. Stay calm out there shopping and wrapping gifts and preparing everything. Everything's going to be just fine. Just keep your calm, and Merry Christmas to all. But guys, until next week, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out on the town or rounding third base, get home safe.